Hi everyone, this is Dan Krutka from the University of North Texas, and in this short video I'm going to share a classroom activity called Figure Ground Analysis of Political Commercials. So the purpose of this lesson is it really helps students slow down and analyze the form of media, not just the content and how it shapes meaning. And this activity really draws from Marshall McLuhan's idea that the medium is the message. That means we can't fully understand a message without also understanding the medium that delivers it, whether it's print media form, radio, TikTok, or television. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Give me one moment here. Okay, sorry for the delay. Here we go. Got to make sure I share my sound for what we're about to do. All right. So let me start right here. So the first thing is, where is this lesson housed? You can find this lesson on the Civics of Technology website, which is an organization that takes critical perspectives on technology that I help to run. And so if you go to our curriculum page first, and then you go down to our Mapping the Media Education Terrain and open that page, you're going to see this page. And the page gives a brief explanation, talks about different approaches to media literacy. So there's approaches that are really about fact checking and how you understand whether information is credible. But there's other approaches that are more appropriate to how do you teach students what to do on social media, right? It's not just about fact checking, it's about even knowing what to spend time with. And there's approaches that are really about reflecting on your feelings, right? Because a lot of what we look at media with is our prior biases, our confirmation bias. And so how do we actually look at media in a way that's helpful when we have such charged political views about the world. What we're going to be looking at for this lesson is an observe the media approach, which focuses on the media form, not just the media content. And I will also point out, even though it's not part of this lesson, that also we have an identify power as the fifth message, which can look at representation and who has control of media messages. So if we go to the observe the media form, this learn, figure, ground approach, and we click on that, this is the page that'll come up. It gives you some background on why it's important to kind of bring the media form to the front of what you're looking at, because often it sits in the background. There's a nice little explanation for teachers here. We have a page that's adapted for younger students too. And these are lessons and activities. I developed this first one. And so what we're going to do is look at activity number 1 here. And so you can see most of it right here. There's just a little bit more on the text. And there's a link to slides. So as I talk about this, you can kind of see what the lesson is. It's pretty simple. It's not too complicated, and there's resources for you. Okay, so in social studies and in media literacy education, we often focus on what the message says, the content. But as Lance Mason reminds us in an article that's linked with this lesson, screen media engages our senses differently. Television, film, and online video combine movement, sound, and emotion in powerful ways that often bypass our critical thinking. It kind of washes over us. And so Mason developed a framework called M.I.T.S, M-I-T-S. You can see his little image of it right there. And M.I.T.S stands for main ideas, images, texts, and sounds. And this is intended to help students isolate these different dimensions of media and see how each one contributes to persuasion. When students break these apart, they begin to notice how media feels and how those feelings influence their interpretations. So in this activity, what we're going to do is have students analyze Ronald Reagan's 1984 Bear in the Woods political commercial, which is available through the Living Room Candidate website, which is a fantastic website that has presidential political ads going all the way back to 1952. So the ad famously uses the metaphor of a bear to evoke Cold War fears without directly naming the Soviet Union or really anything at all. It's less about argument and more about creating a feeling or an atmosphere and play on people's emotions. And so students can experience this ad in 4 stages, each time focusing on a different form of the message. I've taught this lesson to groups of students in upper elementary all the way to the college level, and they're all really intrigued as we're going through this. It's kind of a little bit of a mystery. And so one way I make it a mystery is I actually have downloaded the clips so that I could separate the media parts without, like, if you go to YouTube and watch this or Living Room Candidate, there's going to be text around or on the video that actually shows you what the video is. And I don't want them to know what it is ahead of time. So you don't have to do that, but I think it adds a little bit of intrigue to the lesson. So let me go to my slides, which I developed years ago. So here's my slides I'll use. I'm going to go ahead and go full screen. And so the first thing we do is we read the text, the transcript only. So students will try to answer, what message does the text tell? And if you just read this, it's really hard to figure out this is a political ad, right? They're kind of confused, and you can kind of start to see when you try to take a video and you give it in a transcript form. You could also do this, by the way, for political speeches. It's another. You start to see how wow, this when I read this isn't really that rational. It's not making a logical argument. What's the point here? So the text says. There's a bear in the woods. For some people, the bear is easy to see. Others don't see it at all. Some people say the bear is tame. Others say it's vicious and dangerous. Since no one can really be sure who's right, isn't it smart to be as strong as the bear? If there is a bear, what's going on here? It's a fable? What? I don't understand. And so students are often a little confused. They offer some good guesses as to what they think is happening here. Then we go on to the next step, and we are just going to watch the video. And as you can see here, I've separated the video. And the question here is, what message do? Oh, I have sorry, and I have I have them mixed up here. I'll switch, but the question, the what they should be answering here is, what message do the images tell? And I put the wrong text on this slide. And so when you look at these images, what are you supposed to take away from this? This is supposed to help you decide which person to vote for president. Oh, it's a bear walking around in a field and near a river, and then at the end you see a person. What's going on? So then we go to the audio only, which our question here, which was on the last slide accidentally, I'll get those fixed if you download the slides. The question here is, what message do the sounds tell? Or what emotions or ideas do the sounds convey? And it's only here where students start to see what the purpose of the ad is. So you see how sound effects and the way that sound effects are used can have a profound influence on how we view media. And so let me go ahead and play this where you should be able to hear it. Say it's vision and nature. No one can really be sure who's right. Isn't it smart to be as strong as the bear? If there is a bear. So there's this foreboding sense, the heartbeat, the voice, the background music. They're supposed to make you feel some kind of emotion. As you're sitting home as a voter, you're supposed to start feeling something. But still, it may not totally make sense to the students what they're actually trying to make you feel some kind of fear about. And so then you go to the next one, you actually put everything together, and they finally get to see the ad in whole together. Say it's vision. No one can really be sure who's right. Isn't it smart to be as strong as the bear? If there is a bear. So that's the first time they actually see who the ad is for. And then they start to try to guess at like what it's about. And some students still are completely lost and have no clue. And you can see how in our moment, right, when we have context, these things can kind of make sense and play on our emotions, that whether we have anxiety about what's happening in the world, or in this case, the Cold War. And so it's always a really interesting experience. And so that's really the full lesson. But the thing is there's so many opportunities then to take this and learn more about it. So this process turns what McLuhan called the invisible ground of our media environment into the figure, what we actually pay attention to. So we start to pay attention to how the medium influences us, not just the message. So this next, what you can do to expand on the lesson is, after viewing it, the videos, students use Mason's M.I.T.S strategy to guide their analysis. And so they can think of some key questions, main ideas. Who created this idea, this ad, and why? Who's the target audience? What kind of emotional or rational appeal is used? And again, the emotional appeal is what we don't always get to. Images, how do camera angles, zooms, or editing shape the message? What does the bear symbolize visually? Text, what effect does the short poetic narration have? What words are repeated? Sounds, how do the music and narrator's tone build tension or reassurance? And not all of the concepts or techniques are going to be present in every single example, so it just gives students some questions to work through. But by isolating each dimension, students realize that much of the ad's persuasive power comes not from what's said, but how it's said through the medium itself. They see that meaning isn't just transmitted through words, it's constructed through sound, motion, pacing, and image sequencing. This awareness is vital in a world where students encounter media designed to provoke quick emotional responses from political campaigns or even from social media reels. And so, after analyzing Reagan's bear ads, students can explore other political commercials on the Living Room Candidates site, or they could explore advertisements. With a group of middle school students, I used, after the 2022 Super Bowl, I used a Taco Bell ad that was completely nonsensical, again, because it exaggerates the point, and to figure out, like, how is this selling you a product, right? And we started to understand those persuasion techniques. Students might compare how sound and imagery change across eras, or how different campaigns use humor, fear, or nostalgia to shape public opinions. I love going back to the 1950 ads, which are very literal, right? Sometimes they have cartoons, sometimes they have someone just making a direct appeal, and you can see how media forms have changed over time. Teachers can adapt this framework to any screen-based text. Again, like I said, commercials, news segments, social media videos, scenes from a movie. It can work really well. The key is to have students observe the medium itself as an active participant in shaping meaning. So when students start learn to recognize how media form influences thought and feeling, they become more reflective and empowered citizens. They're not just asking, what does this say, but also, how does this make me feel and why? What strategies or media techniques are being used? So you can access, again, all this lesson and the related resources on the Civics of Technology website. If you go to the curriculum page, choose the Mapping the Media Education Terrain curriculum, and click on the Learn Figure Ground Approach button. That's where it's all featured, and it's also, of course, featured as part of NAMLY's 2025 Media Literacy Week Resource Showcase. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you'll try this activity with your students. If you do, please reach out to me. I hope it helps them see not only the figure of media messages, but the ground that makes those media messages possible. Thank you.